You ever explain something perfectly and watch the other person just not get it? Like, you know your stuff cold. You can break down the exact steps to get from 5K a month to 30K a month. You've done it, you've watched clients do it. The logic is airtight. But when you explain it to a prospect or post about it online or try to frame it in a way that actually lands for people, you get crickets. Or worse, you get some polite nodding, yeah, that makes sense, and then nothing changes. You're stuck trying to figure out why your expertise isn't converting the way it should, why people are consuming your content but not pulling the trigger, why you can explain something in 3 different ways and it still doesn't stick. The frustrating part is that you're not wrong. Your system works, your clients get results, you have the proof, but credibility isn't about being right. Being right and being believed are 2 completely different skills, and being believed is what you need. And there's a format that's been solving this problem at scale, mostly in entertainment, but with mechanics that transfer to exactly what you do as a coach. It's called the 1v10. Jubilee built a 7-figure company on it, and everybody has started doing this, from Samir Mithwani to Brez Scale to Jeremy Haynes. And underneath all of the drama, the lighting, and the 4-camera setup that they all have, there's a surprisingly simple psychological engine that coaches like you can steal. This board breaks down exactly how it works and what to take from it in 6 gruesomely detailed sections. And fair warning, if you did come here for some kind of production checklist, this isn't that. What's actually here is stranger, but far more useful for your specific situation. And just so you know, I'm not talking out of my ass here. My name is Kamil, and I've spent hundreds of hours analyzing sales funnels from some of the top coaches and gurus out there while working with multiple 5- and 6-figure entrepreneurs to scale their info businesses all the way to $100,000 per month. And now I post about the stuff that I've learned right here on this YouTube channel. So without any further ado, let's start with what this format actually is. The 1v10 format is basically one person sitting across from 10 strangers defending a position live, one at a time. Jubilee built an entire channel on it. They started doing some versions of it. The format has quite a few names: Surrounded, One versus Many, Hot Seat, but it's all basically the same stuff. The production is super polished. It's about $10,000 to $20,000 per episode, at least for Jubilee. 4 to 6 cinema cameras capturing reactions in real time, a casting process to make sure the 10 aren't pushovers, and they're actually trying to change the lone person's mind. On top of that, there's the red flag system. So when the group feels like their current representative is losing ground, they vote to swap them out by raising these red flags, as you can see in their hands right here. Basically, this keeps the debate moving, prevents any one exchange from going too long, and it guarantees the lone person never really fully settles into comfort. And this board isn't really about the studio, the cameras, or the casting. Underneath all of that, there is about 3 psychological levers within this machine, and they have nothing to do with the budget or the person behind it. Understanding those levers is exactly what this video is for. So here's what's actually happening when viewers watch a 1v10. Lever 1 is the Ash effect. In 1951, Solomon Ash ran experiments where participants were shown 3 lines and asked which was the most similar to a standard line. Right here, for example, they've shown 3 lines, and then the similar line or the standard line would be X, right? We can pretty obviously see that C is the similar line. But when a group around the person or the participant within the study unanimously gave the wrong answer, 75% of those prospects or participants went along with it at least once. And excuse my horrendous writing of a 7. Let's just complete it there. Right. This means that obviously people cave under social pressure, even though they know they're right. This 1v10 format puts this on display. There's 10 people united pushing back against a single person. The central question really isn't that, oh, who will win? It's, will this person hold their ground? The viewers are really hooked because they're watching someone resist what most humans, including them, couldn't for even 5 minutes. Lever 2 is instant tribal identification. Within the first 90 seconds, every viewer will pick a side, because the visual framing triggers it automatically. One person in the center, 10 around them, your brain obviously scans the scene and says, who am I in this room? Most viewers will land on the lone person, the person who, in this case, is you. The underdog narrative, the visual isolation, the high stakes. The format is designed to create that identification, and once they've picked a side, they're emotionally invested. Lever 3 is the rotation. Every single time a new challenger steps up, the audience recalibrates. Okay, this person is a different angle on it. Can the lone defender handle this one? The tension will reset, the clock will reset, and the investment will continue. Without rotation, the debates will stall and one exchange will go for way too long. The audience will disengage, and the rotation just prevents this from happening. Of course, tension resetting, the investment will continue. Now, obviously, these mechanics themselves don't require anything in the form of budget or whatever. But why does Jubilee spend so much? And how do you steal this without that $35,000 production budget? Well, here's where the research gets quite interesting, because Jubilee spends about $15,000 to $35,000 per episode. You don't need any of that. What their production budget does is sharpen the levers. Better cameras capture facial expressions more clearly, which amplifies the pressure. Better casting finds participants who are genuinely opposed, which makes the tribal identification cleaner. But the core tension is really just social, not technical. One person holding their position under sustained pressure. That is the whole thing. A Zoom-based 1v10. Now, obviously, I haven't tested this, right? I'm not sure. This is going to be uncharted seas that you're trying to sail if you go for this. But a Zoom-based 1v10 could theoretically work if it has a well-moderated lineup of genuinely polarized participants, because it technically produces the same core experience. So, the position, right? The lone person in a 1v10 is defending a position. There's a difference between that and expertise framing. Positions invite conflict. Expertise does not. And conflict is what creates tribal identification within your audience. So what you want to do is never say, here are 5 ways to XYZ. Most coaches don't know. The data shows, in this type of video at least. With position framing, you want to just go ahead and give out your specific position to get people talking. I think X is wrong, and here's why. You can disagree with me on this, or my clients prove this differently. Obviously, verbatim, don't copy and paste this. This creates sides, and it creates investment. People remember where they stood in the situation and stand harder on their ground. And there's also another mechanic that makes this work for content. The red flag rotation keeps the tension alive across time. You can borrow this for content without running a live debate either. Content that invites genuine pushback and then engages that pushback publicly replicates the rotation mechanic. So you want to stake a clear position, let genuine pushback surface, so comments, DMs, or replies, and engage the strongest objection publicly. Hold your position or update it with new evidence. Audience then recalibrates and reinvests. The tension resets and the cycle continues. You'll notice that this is exactly what TJR, Brez, and all these other guys are doing. The Jubilee format and the format that recently Brez tried, the format that recently Jeremy Haynes did, and recently Samir Mithwani did, which, by the way, if you don't know, the lore behind this is kind of crazy. There's literally just one dude who went to everybody, made them pay like 20 grand for a video. It's pretty crazy. Everybody has just had work with this one guy. But again, off topic, obviously, but the tension will reset, the cycle will continue. It's the same psychological principles that these guys on short form like TJR and Brez are using to get insanely viral reels. And again, they're selling the exact thing that you're doing. So if it's working for them, why not try it yourself? And obviously a lot of people might be like, oh, I want to be less like a bot, like TJR is. Obviously you might not like him. You know, he has polarizing opinions. That's the whole point. So if you don't like him, just inject your personality into it. The mechanic is introducing a position, letting it face real resistance, and holding or updating that publicly. By the way, if you want help building the funnel that captures the audience that you've already built, I'll leave a link in the description to go ahead and DM me on Instagram and hop on a call with either me or one of my team members to go ahead and walk you through how we can help you scale your business, your info business, from zero all the way to $100,000 per month using your existing audience. Because the content strategy is only really half the equation. So again, I'll leave a link in the description. Now there's 2 mistakes that will kill this actual strategy. One mistake is about fairness, the other is about depth. Mistake number 1 is gotcha optimization over dialogue. The red flag system is designed to keep tension alive, but when creators optimize for rapid fire swaps to maximize clippable moments, something will break eventually. The audience came to watch someone hold a position under sustained pressure. Rapid rotation and trying to turn it into a highlight reel will only get you the effect of having a ton of clippable and gotcha moments, but not an actually good YouTube video. So you don't get a sustained arc that creates genuine investment. The mistake number 2 is asymmetric expertise, which is placing a professional debater against unprepared participants doesn't really create underdog tension. It creates a mismatch, and mismatches aren't really tension, they're just predictable steamrolls. The format only works when the audience genuinely does not know who's going to hold. For coaches, this translates directly to audience engagement, so if your content is designed to win every argument before the argument even starts, perfect framing and no real concession that is possible, objections being pre-dismissed, and you're just completely removing the uncertainty, which is the main reason that this format actually works. You have to keep yourself at risk, and the audience has to believe that that might not hold. And again, if you are really super insecure about you messing up in some way, you can just cut it out later. Really doesn't matter. The goal really in this type of content isn't necessarily to change minds. It's to provide a space where the arguments are laid bare for the audience to decide. Now, this is probably going to be the thing that you will get backwards if you skip this video. You will try to be the person who wins if you try this format. The format instead rewards the person who holds, which is completely different. Holding means you might lose, and the audience knowing you might lose is what keeps them watching. So stop trying to engineer certainty for yourself, because certainty for yourself means certainty for the audience, which means a absolutely horrendous video. So what do you actually take from all of this? Well, there's really only a few things. You need what the format does, so the engine that is behind it. Jubilee's production mechanics are theirs. The psychological levers underneath them are available to everybody that understands them, including you. What this actually gives you as a coach building organic content is a predictable system to build a cult-like following. You need to have the position habit, so you pick one thing you genuinely believe that a real segment of your audience would push back on. When the pushback comes, you don't dismiss it and engage the strongest version of it publicly. And then, of course, sometimes you hold, sometimes new evidence updates your position. Both of them will build credibility, but the thing that will kill credibility is refusing to engage. And that is the worst thing you can do in this situation. So you just repeat the system predictably over and over and over again. And again, if you have been online at all, seeing TJR's X, seeing Brez's X, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all of those platforms, they always engineer this exact cycle over and over and over again. I'm sure you can't unsee this at this point. Every single time you see one of their pieces of content, you'll be able to pinpoint exactly how they're engineering the cycle. And that's the power of it, because now you can do it within your own info business. The 1v10 format costs $15,000 to $35,000 per episode at the level that Jubilee does it. The version of it that you can run with a phone and an opinion and the willingness to hold your ground costs almost nothing. Absolutely nothing. And of course, if you want to go for something a bit higher budget, you can just go out, pay a few college kids $100 each, try out the format for $1,000 video. Obviously, if you get even 10K views on that, you'll get a huge ROI, because that's just how amazing YouTube is at conversions. So here's a quick overall recap of everything. You just want to remember, you're not trying to win every exchange. You're creating a space where the arguments are visible and the audience gets to decide where they land. And the coaches who figure this out stop sounding like salespeople. If you want to see how this connects, by the way, to your full organic funnel, where this kind of content sends people and how to capture that attention, the link to work with me and my team to have this done for you is in the description. Obviously, I'll link my Instagram, and you can go ahead and DM me on Instagram and we can go from there. And of course, if you aren't a good fit, we'll be able to send you some free resources and send you on your way from there as well. Anyways, hoping to see you in one of these videos on screen, and I hope you got a ton of value from this one today as well. Goodbye.